Hi guys, it's me, Lori, and welcome to the It's Me podcast. Today I've got a really exciting guest who is a fellow New Yorker and also who is doing something really interesting in building a community around running. So Zen, I'm going to have you introduce yourself a little bit and talk about what it is your community does and how you got started.
I am the founder and leader of the Slow Runners Club, which is a community of runners who are not so concerned about their speed when they go out for their run. It's just amazing that we're actually out there for some of us. And I know many of you can relate. If you go to running communities, not all of them, but many of them were conversations of how did you do? How was your time? How are you going to get faster? And if you fail, basically the failure was built around you didn't reach a certain speed. And I found that to be pretty discouraging, especially for beginners, for larger runners, for older runners, for people who are coming back from an injury. So this was about 6 years ago. I created a podcast called the Slow Runners Club. And the whole conversation was about that. We had guests, I had a co-host, we would go back and forth. And then over the years, the podcast evolved. And if you launch a podcast, if you're around for a few years, you'll build a community. But it wasn't until I moved to Facebook groups that everything exploded. And we can talk about that more in detail. But that's basically who we are. And there's now thousands of runners who are a member of the Slow Runners Club, and we represent the back of the pack in all the biggest races around the world, and we're really
proudly
happy to do so. Yeah, proudly.
And you're a coach, right?
Yes, I am a running coach, and I coach. Before that, I was a martial arts instructor for about 10 years, and then I retired from the whole mixed martial arts scene, but I still wanted to do things. I found running, and now I am a running coach as well.
Oh, okay. You did MMA. That's interesting. How long did you do that for?
Well, I trained under Hoist Gracie's school, and I did that for 10 years, and became an instructor, and it was a lot of fun in Florida. I don't do that anymore because I had a back injury, and it was just too hard to come back. And then I started running, and I just loved it, and now that's where I am now.
I see. So how did you discover running?
Actually, I discovered it through podcasting. So when I first started my podcasting back in the day, and this is like 2005, I did a whole podcasting about weight loss, and it was kind of geared towards The Biggest Loser, and it was called Burning 20, and it was featured on Adam Curry's Daily Source Code, and I had thousands of listeners because of that mention. He thought that was really cool that somebody was doing this. And I would, I documented losing 20 pounds, burning 20 as in 20 pounds. And I did it. I went through. And it was like, okay, now what? So the podcast just kept going on. And I was like, well, what do I need to do to continue this? And another podcaster, good friend of mine, his name is Zen Runner. He has a podcast called Fidipidation. It's a real weird name, but it's one of the most popular running podcasts, been around forever. We became friends, and he inspired me to start running. I was inspiring him by the weight loss. He was inspiring me by the running. It was about the end of my martial arts career, so it was like, gosh, my back is killing me. Got to do something. Right. So I started running for therapy, and also, through inspiration from the podcast. And then, the Burning 20 became a running podcast because I was talking about, oh my God, this is great. I love this. I ran my first race. I got involved with communities, and then all of a sudden, the rest is history.
So what happened with Facebook?
This is a really key point to finding success and finding your community. And I want everybody to really listen to this one. Out of all the things I say today, if you are a content creator and you're looking to find your community or grow your community, the biggest mistake I think content creators make is they open a page, right? And pages I found, and we had a page for a long time on Facebook, and people would go there because we had a pretty decent audience and people passionate about running, especially slower runners, like, oh, I found my people finally. A place where I can just do a 15-minute mile and nobody's gonna, say like, wow, that's slow. And it is, that's slow, but we love it. We're all slow, that's cool. It's awesome just that you got out and joined us, right? I'm not fast by any means. But the page, when you look at a page, you don't see the others. You only see the content from whoever's creating that page,
Right.
whoever's offering that page. So I could put out announcements about when my next show
Right.
was, what next race I'm training for, where we're doing meetups. But to find the posts and the comments, it was very, very difficult, and that just didn't work.
Right.
Then
And
we-
for those who
you
are
know, and-
unfamiliar, I know what you're talking about. Sort of a page looks like a profile page, but you're the only person who can post in that sort of main bar, and then anyone else
really-
who posts to it goes
Yeah.
to the side, right?
You really have to hunt for everybody else's comments unless it's directly under something that we said.
Yeah.
Group pages are more designed towards community. I mean, and that's the bottom line. So if there's that one thing that you take away is if you really want to build community, and you know, some folks don't want to build community. It's a lot of work. Like being a community leader is not about being a content creator. You know, when I am managing this group, I'm often like moderating. You know,
Right.
and I have other people who are moderators, but it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, that one's a little spammy. People come in and they try to sell you, you know, some Shakeology or something. You know, they're like, you know,
Right.
affiliate sales, and it's like, no marketing. And no
Right.
fundraising. We just kind of keep it conversation about, hey, I ran 3 miles. Isn't that awesome? Longest run ever, you know, or I'm so frustrated. What can I do? I'm looking for advice, or I'm going to be at a race. Does anybody want to meet up? Or, you know,
Right.
what's a good hotel, you know, for this race? And like those kinds of conversations, and just people posting funny stuff, and you know, all kinds of, you know, memes and viral stuff, you know, around running. And it's so great because you really feel like it's a club, and I go in there and, you know, I keep pushing out content too for the club, but it's like once or twice a day I go in there and post something. But the reality is that most of the content creation and community building is being done by the club itself. You sort of have to be a ringleader and
Right.
and a traffic cop. You know?
And you have to learn how to do those things effectively.
Yeah, you do. You have to do them gracefully, right? You have to do them gracefully because you don't want to anger anybody. But there's been quite a few people that I just boot and block, you know, block and tackle for the good,
And did you
for the
have
greater
to
good.
sort of learn? I mean, did you let it go for a while? How did you learn to like which to pick and choose in terms of what to make the rules? You know, what kinds of
Okay,
marketing is
well,
bad?
we have one overriding rule. The golden rule is don't be a dick. And if I think you're a dick, you're out. I don't even give you a second chance. I boot you, right?
Right,
I have no tolerance. And if you post something that's kind of spammy, like you're selling something, or hey, come check out my page, it's like, I don't mind promoting others' stuff if it's great stuff, but I ask, and we have a code of conduct on the group page. You can post documents in a group page, and I have like a code of conduct, and just so, hey, if you're going to be part of this group, these are the things we expect. And you know, we have some rules about, you know, be nice, don't be a dick, so be friendly, play well in the sandbox with others. If if there's any flame wars, I shut that down immediately. If there's someone who's getting spammy or trying to sell stuff, being affiliate or something like that, they have to prove that by me. Same thing with fundraising, and that was a tough one because you know, it's like, yeah, I want everybody to be able to raise money for all these great causes, but here's the thing: when you let people do that just openly on your site, and I may be unpopular in saying this because, you know, it's important that we raise money, it guilts everybody. And I didn't want that to happen in
Right.
this
And it
group.
also makes your board into like just a list of people asking for money. I mean,
Yeah,
no matter how
exactly
great the
right.
cause is, that's just not very conducive to conversation, right?
Yeah, and kind of like fundraising's funny. It's like and I did a lot of fundraising, like I told you, right? And so if somebody gave me money and then they start fundraising, then I have to give them money. So it's like, you know, it's like, wait, I give you 20, then you give me 20. Let's just call the whole thing even. Like, I'll just give the charity 20. You know, it's like, it happens all the time with runners. You know, and it's like, well, I gave you 50. Oh, well, I'll give you 60. And it's just like, oh. You know, because it's a big deal, a big part of running. A lot of people are noble runners and they just do it for the charity and they raise a lot of good money, and that's great. I just didn't want that to start to happen. There's all that kind of weirdness when you start to get money involved in it. And we do have some transactions, but they're really minor. Like, you know, we have stickers and magnets and shirts that you can buy to, you know, support the club, and they do really well. But
so what was the decision to make it a closed group then? Why?
I'll tell you why, and I'm so glad you asked that question. Because many of the folks who are members of our club don't feel comfortable talking about how slow they are, you know, don't feel comfortable about posting pictures of them without makeup on, sweaty and all disgusting. And quite frankly, I know everyone has a friend who's like a fitness freak, and you just, after a while, it's just like, oh, so-and-so went out to work out again, twice in one day. Thanks for making me feel so fat. I mean, come on. You know, so it's like,
that is a very real feeling, yeah.
When it's a closed group, none of their friends or family sees it. So we encourage posting anything you want about fitness. You know, you can boast about how awesome you are, or you can bitch about how, you know, hard it was, or you can post pictures of your food, whatever you want, but it's not going to get any, you know, it keeps all of that conversation away from their friends and family. And you know that anyone who's joined the group likes to see that stuff. And so it's just to control the feed, really. And yeah, and we found that once we made the group closed, people were more willing to open up. That, like, it was easy to get the members, but until we closed the group, because we didn't close it in the beginning, and then once we closed the group and announced that it was a private group, people just opened up. And they said, you know, I know that only the people in the group are going to see this. Like, so I know my boss, my boss won't, you know, find out that I wasn't actually sick yesterday. I had a long run.
That is so interesting. That's a really good idea. And in what ways has that sort of interactivity changed what you were doing, you know, in general before when you didn't have the group?
Well, I have to tell you, it's so much easier to find content. Before I had the group and the way it's so interactive, I would have to go out and look for articles, or I'd have to do interviews, a lot of interviews and stuff like that, or I'd go to events. Or what I used to do is I'd take the recorder with me on my run, and there's a lot of running podcasters that do that. Like, the whole podcast is them running, and that is the most disturbing experience.
That sounds so difficult.
I'm going to talk about, and I'm like, dude, sit down, just talk to me. I know you can run. Like, you know, when a lot of people do that, they like to talk and run. And,
that is
and
dedication.
There's nothing wrong with that. I just don't, you know, I like my show to be more like a show. So, but once we created the group, I just, you know, I'll post a question to the group. And I'll say, hey, podcast question, what's your favorite shoes? And then people just go on and on about their favorite shoes, and I just read the comments and react to them. And that's like such a treasure trove of information. And we have more activity on the Facebook page than, you know, I ever hoped to get on the podcast, which is great. Which is great, you know, and that's exciting. But, you know, as it really did change my focus, you know, less about me and what I'm up to or what I find interesting, and more about just reporting on what the group finds interesting. I'm just a facilitator now.
That's so awesome. It's like the group has become a thing in and of itself.
That's right. That's right. And I'm constantly getting photos of turtles, because turtle is our mascot. I'm getting photos of pictures all over the place of, you know, I ran and they hold the sticker up, or they have put this sticker on their car, or they find something and you know, you inspired me so much, thank you. And it's just like, wow, and like, it's so amazing to be able to help people in that way. We just launched just today, I launched a database on the slowrunnersclub.com. It's a list of marathons, over 250 races I went through, and these are all races that have finish times over 7 hours. Most marathons are 6 hours, which is too quick. Like by the time a slow runner gets near to the finish, they just pull up the flags and go home. And so these slow runners are left out on the course with no medal, and they're like, "Oh my God, you're at mile 20," and like everybody goes home, right? Well,
that's
so I went through almost every marathon. I came up with 250 races, or there's a little bit more, like 253, and I organized them by state, by time, by city, and you can go onto the website and sort it. It's slowrunnersclub.com/marathons, and you can sort it and download it, and it's just a tool, like a really nice database that I put together.
So have races approached you seeing that and saying like, oh, we didn't realize that this was a thing, maybe we should change our policies?
That's what my dream is that the Slow Runners Club is the representative for all the major races for the back of the pack. That we own the back of the pack, and actually the reason why I put together this list is I'm going to go out, now that I've built it, I'm going to go out, and it's really not just a list, it's a database. I'm going to go out and share that list with all of these major races and say, hey, I'm pointing to you. I'd like to let you know that you've been approved as a Slow Runner Club, a slow friendly race, a race that is, friendly to slower runners. And a lot of runners come to me who are beginners or, bigger or older or recovering, and we've pointed to you. And I'm not looking for this to be a business, but more like a stamp of approval. Give these, and you can't buy the stamp, you have to earn the stamp. There's certain criteria, and then
that's a way to affect change.
And all we want to do is have race directors think about it. And look, if you want to plan a race that is not slow friendly, that's fine. Like the Boston Marathon is very competitive. That's fine. There should be races that slow people shouldn't go to.
Just to close off, I think that one of the reasons why I really wanted to talk to you about your community is because I think it's applicable to much more than running, and I feel like one of the most, of the many things that you're doing for your members, I think one of the most awesome things is that you are trying to give, like you said, give a voice to people who did not necessarily have it before. That's kind of why I'm trying to do what I do as well. So thanks for sharing that.
Find something that's missing, something you want that you can't find, and then make that thing. It's not too hard. Look around you. Where is there a gap? And wherever there's a gap, make something happen.
How can people find you on social media and stuff?
Well, Zen Runner, I'm known everywhere as Zen Runner. Or if you want to join the club, just go to slowrunnersclub.com. We have a link to the Facebook page. You have to ask to join.
And don't be a dick.
Yeah, don't be a dick.
Thank you so much. All right. Good talking to you.
Cool.
Bye-bye.